Hi, this is Humayun Khan. In this video, we will learn how to use the ForEach Loop Container of SSIS, the SQL Server Integration Services. This ForEach Loop Container can be used on several other enumerators, but in this video, we'll loop through files in a folder and upload them into the database table. While we are doing that, we'll also log an entry in a log table with the file name and how many rows that got uploaded. So we'll create a integration package which will complete these tasks. Upload all the CSV files, and after uploading, move them to archives folder, create a row count log entry, and also we'll configure the SSIS log on the SQL Server database. So let's go ahead. In this project, I already created a project and named it upload data files. This is the default package that got created, and I'm not going to change the name of it. So let's first start building the package. First, I'll create two variables. One is file name, which is the scope is package. We are not going to use it out of this package, and the data type is a string. The default value is the file that we'll be uploading, but as you will see, the name of the file will change as the container loops through each file. And the second variable will be the row count. It will be the integer type, and default value is fine if we left it to 0. So now we go up here and place a ForEach loop container. We don't have to change the name, but let's just do that. Upload data files and double click it to configure it. Collection, what collection this will enumerate on, which is already selected because this is probably the first one. Yes. So for each file enumerator, which files we are talking about, so let's browse that folder where our data files are loaded. Data files are stored. See data files, and this is the folder where the files are located. What kind of files they are, so let's go and take a look. This is the folder Windows C data files, and these are all the files. These are the sample files. In real world you may have different file names, or the size or the name length of the file might be different, and we also know that these files contain very few columns and about 10 rows in each file, and there are total of 10 files. So just to demonstrate the use, and after each file is uploaded in database, it will be moved to this folder called archives. So let's go and change the file extension to CSV. What this is doing is this loop container will go through this folder, find every file that has an extension of CSV regardless of the name, and then capture its fully qualified name. I could have taken only the file name and extension, or the name only, but I needed the fully qualified name. We don't want to traverse the subfolders because there are no subfolders. The one we have is archives folder, so we'll leave this alone. And variable mapping, what it means, after we capture the name of the file, where we are going to store it in each run of the loop. So let's choose a variable file name, and the index is 0. There is only one variable we are capturing. So that's all we needed for this component. Let's click OK and increase the size a little bit just for the ease of design. Once we have done this, we will need to create a data flow task that will upload our files. So let's choose that, put this task in here, double click it, and while we are here, let's go towards connection manager and create two connections. One is flat file connection, which is the source file for the data. We can choose it from here. We are in the data files folder, but our files have CSV extension. So let's just pick any of the files for the sake of configuring this component. But when the loop is running, you will see that file name will be dynamically picked up. And just remember, all the files in this folder are the same structure, and that is why we are using the loop and one data flow task. Let's go and take a look at preview. What we see that the first row is of the data is being used as a column names, which is not right. So let's go on the general tab and unclick this. Now it should be fine. There are no column names, so it is just giving default names. And you can see the data is very simple. The first column is 1 character and other 5 columns have integer values in there. Advanced tab, the very first column, let's just make it 1 because this is how our table is. I will show you in a second. And rest of these are integer, but by default it picks all the varchar 50 size, and I think it will implicitly convert that, so we don't need to worry about that, and just see that everything looks fine. Click OK. The second, let me also change another property of this, which is very important. The expression, this is the property of file connection manager. Choose the connection string and get this value from a variable file name. As you remember, we had configured a default value for this variable. So if we click this evaluate expression, that value will show up here. But at runtime, this value will be changing as the loop goes through the folder and picks up each file to load. Click OK. So now this property is dynamically changeable. Now the second connection manager will be doing to our SQL server. We already have that. I had this created before. So human resource database, that's where we want to load the files data. Click OK. Let's just rename this a little so the name will not look so cryptic. Human resource. So let's just take a look at our database. The database name is human resource, and this is the table where the data will be loaded from the file. You saw there are 6 columns, and these are the 6 columns will be coming from the data file. This column I have added in the file, in the table, and it automatically generates a value because it's an identity column, so the values will be assigned from 1 to 1, 2, 3 and onward. And these 2 columns I'm capturing the value while the loop is running, the data file name and the modified date time, the time the file was uploaded. So this is for future reference when you, in practical scenarios, when you have hundreds of files or even a dozen files and you are uploading them every day or every week, so after some time they pile up and you kind of don't know which file was loaded or if there was something, or for the audit purposes. So these 2 columns will be coming from the SSIS package. Also we'll have to create a derived column for that. So this is one table where the data will be uploaded. The other table is for logging the file name and how many rows they contained. This is also for the logging purposes and later on for future reference. So let's go ahead with the rest of the package. So we are in the data flow task. Let's create a source assistant. We choose the flat file. That's where we going to have our source, and we edit this flat file connection manager. Columns are these, and so that is good. We need to add 2 derived columns. We want to give these column a name, and we know that it is data file name. So let's just copy this from here, and we want to use this variable. Once we select this, we see that it automatically assigns a data type and the size length 24. We know in our database the table is varchar, and this is the Unicode string, which is nvarchar. So it's not going to match. It will probably give an error. And I also wanted to change the size of this column, that derived column. So let's just click OK, and we can do that in the advanced editor. We can change the data type to what we have in the database, and the size is 50. I don't think any file name is more than 50. It doesn't look like it said 24, so all of them are probably 24. So let's click OK. The second column, we want to add the modified date time. Upload date time. For this, let's capture the name from the and place it here. For the value of it, we will use the system function. Now we have all the columns in our data set that we can load in our table in the database right here. Let's just add one more thing, which is the row count for the log table. So row count, and then assign the value of it to the variable row count. Now we need the destination where we are going to upload the data, and that is going to be our human resource database. So let's give it some name. Our table where the data is going is monthly data table, and choose the table here, monthly data. We do the mapping. We see that destination columns are this, so it's just not matching automatically, so we can do that here. It's just a space difference. And these two columns match the name, so they are there. Let's just click OK. So we are done with the data flow task. Let's go back to the control flow. Like we said, after we upload the file into the table, we need to move it to the archives folder. So we have to do that using the file system task. Let's give it a name, archive file. Configure this. Destination connection, is it a variable? No, we will actually create a new connection, which is an existing folder, as you saw in the data files folder, the archives folder, and we'll pick that up. Computer, C, data files, archive. So this is our destination connection, and the operation, we have to make sure that we choose the move file, because we don't want to leave the file there once it is uploaded. Is source path a variable? Yes, because we'll be using the variable file name which is being populated every time the loop runs, and that file name is the fully qualified name, so that will be moved from the original location, which is the data files folder, to the archives folder, which destination connection we just created. So that's all we need here. Click OK, and the last thing we have to do is log the row count for each file in the log table in the database. So let's create an execute SQL task for that, and say log row count. What we need to do this is choose the connection, which is the human resource same database, because we know our table is there, and for the SQL statement we will write that. Actually, I have written that statement that inserts a row in the log table. So our log table name is data files log, and we are inserting the three columns: data file name, file row count, and upload date time. You can see these first two values are coming from some parameters, and the third one is the system date. So let's copy that and paste it in our execute SQL task. Click OK. Now we need to map the parameters. Add a new parameter. Actually, let me maximize it, and the first value is supposed to be the file name. It is input, but it's not the numeric type, it is actually the character varchar. And if you have used this parameter before, you know the indexing is 0 based, so the first parameter is 0 and the second one should be the 1. And row count, it is input and it is the numeric type, so we'll leave it to be long, and the index is 1. So that's all we need on this. We don't need the result set because we are not getting anything. Click OK. So I believe we are ready to run this package. So let's go take a look. We have 10 files here. We have the our data for the let's select and see if there is any data. There is no data in our data table, and the log table is also empty. One more thing is that we need to configure the logging for this. So I do that pretty much always, so if there is any error, it'll capture that. So we want a SQL Server log, and we want to add this, and we choose this, any error that happened in there, this here, and go on the detail, and let me enlarge it. We just want to capture the errors. So one more thing, we need to do the configuration. So the table, the log table, should be in the same database. Let's go and click OK. So let's run this package. Everything is saved. Let's go and execute this package. Seems like it did run, so let's just stop it and go and check. First, let's see what happened to our files. Okay, there used to be 10 files, now there are none. They must have been moved to this folder, archive. So we are fine on this. Let's go in the database. We check the data table, execute. There are 100 rows. 10, I mean this is just an example. I had put 10 rows in each file, and the numbers are just automatically generated. So you can see the first column is A, B, and C, and this is how. And for each row of data, we are capturing what file it comes from. That's for later use. In real world, you might have some use for that. Let's go to the log file, and if you want to take a quick look, what file had how many rows, what time it was uploaded. So we are kind of maintaining this log, and this log should also be there. There was no error, as we saw while we were executing the package. All the arrows were green, so it only logged two entries, one the beginning of the package and the end of the package execution. So this is all good. I think we have successfully created our package and we can deploy it. Or so this is what we use the ForEach Loop Container, and in this example we used it on a folder which had a bunch of files, so that was the collection we were applying our ForEach loop on. And but you can try it for different collections, as you saw here, for each item and ADO, which is a record set, and things like that. I hope you have learned something out of this video, and I appreciate you watching this.